My friends, what did the United States Department of Defense just do in the early hours of today? It wasn't a common political or commercial move, it was an act of legitimate defense, which exposes the guts of the biggest espionage machine disguised as technology in modern history. And what's even worse, this is also happening in Brazil, right there in your garage, in your living room, on your computer and on your cell phone. The American government invoked the maximum security mechanism of Section 1260H and blacklisted the biggest commercial powers of China from military cooperation. The electric vehicle manufacturer, and this one you know very well, BYD, the data processing giant Alibaba, and the search platform Baidu. And what you're going to understand today is that this executive order is not just a regular market dispute. It's the clinical diagnosis of a virus that was planted to monitor, map, and strangle the sovereignty of Western nations from the inside out. The inclusion of these brands at the top of the military risk pyramid is the exact validation of the danger that has already knocked on our door. The Pentagon did not act on impulse. American analysts have spent the last few months tracking the invisible flow that connects the laboratories of these private companies to the high command of the People's Liberation Army of China. The Chinese embassy rushed to the press to claim that the measure is discriminatory and that its companies comply with local regulations, while the directors of Jack Ma threaten legal action. But Beijing's bureaucratic theater has completely collapsed. The mask of friendly business partners has fallen, and what remains is the structure of a Chinese condominium, where countries like Brazil cease to be independent nations and start operating as mere submissive tenants, paying rent for the infrastructure to the owner of the communist board. But to understand the seriousness of what's happening, first you need to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and like the video because it takes a lot of work to make it. Now you need to forget everything you've learned about the concept of private companies in the West. In China, the separation between what is civil and what is military is a complete legal illusion designed to deceive foreign investors. The official doctrine dictated by the one-party regime in Beijing is called military-civil fusion. Under this absolute rule, no national champion like BYD, Alibaba, Huawei, or Tencent has the right to say no to the state. If the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party demands access to codes, servers, or engineering components, the company is legally required to hand everything over on a silver platter. Now stop and think with me. If these corporations were just ordinary trading companies seeking profit in a free market, why would the Chinese government invest billions in subsidies? So that they could sell their products abroad at prices that don't even cover the cost of manufacturing? The mechanics of this model work through heavy fiscal stimulus and aggressive dumping practices. Pay attention to this so you can explain it to your friends. Look at how the government does it. The Communist Party injects billions of dollars in direct subsidies into the bid. Money from the Chinese government, from the Chinese people into the BYD company, also into Alibaba, so that these companies can enter target countries and break local industries. They destroy national factories, eliminate competition, and create an absolute dependence that the host country can no longer escape from. The moment the local industry dies, the Chinese conglomerate takes control of the structure. The target country becomes dependent on Beijing's technology, parts, and support to keep its transportation fleet and logistics running. Commercial profit is just a secondary detail. The ultimate goal of civil-military fusion is to create strategic vulnerabilities that leave entire governments kneeling before the orders of the Chinese Communist Party. And it's not just in Brazil. We are now on maximum alert, red alert in Europe. Italy has just lost practically all of its independent industrial capacity. Today, for Italy to manufacture a screw, a chip, assemble a car, or even a doll, they need authorization from the Chinese Communist Party. Do you doubt it? Just Google it, my friend. Now, nobody is talking about a lot of this here, but the data collection plan of these corporations operates like a real Trojan horse parked inside our borders. Your electric car, for example, ultra-modern, is not just a comfortable means of transportation that respects the environment. Check out the move. For the high command in Beijing, it works like a pair of Chinese eyes filming the streets of Brazil 24 hours a day. BYD vehicles are hyper-connected mobile sensor platforms. They are equipped with dozens of high-definition cameras, high-sensitivity microphones, radar sensors, and satellite geolocation devices that transmit information in a continuous stream. And, in practice, what's happening inside your car is the three-dimensional mapping of the entire national infrastructure. When these thousands of cars drive through the capitals, they are recording the layout of the roads, the movement around military bases, access to strategic ports, industrial complexes, and public governance buildings. Not to mention that lover that eventually the politician takes inside the car. Not to mention that little bribe that Congressman A or Councilman B hand out inside the BYD. Without even imagining that they're being watched, filmed, and recorded. Yeah, my friends, soon we won't even be able to talk bad about the Supreme Court or Lula anymore. The Chinese hear everything. And not just what's inside the car, but what's outside the vehicle too. Now pay attention to this detail. Can you imagine an important Brazilian politician or a high-ranking military officer from our army being blackmailed by the Chinese Communist Party for shady things he was doing inside that car? Yeah, my friends, that's what the Pentagon realized and decided to take action. All this raw data isn't stored on the vehicle's dashboard. It's sent to cloud processing platforms controlled by Alibaba and Baidu. Alibaba isn't just an ordinary e-commerce company. It's the analytical brain that processes the behavior, consumption, logistics flow, and routines of entire populations. All this combined information is the fuel that Beijing's artificial intelligence algorithms use to map out hybrid warfare scenarios and social control, turning each user into an involuntary sensor, all in service of the strategic advancement of the Eastern Bloc. And if the data monitoring from these electric vehicles and servers were harmless, why would the Chinese government itself ban Tesla cars from circulating near official buildings and military bases in Chinese territory? My friends, if there's one thing the Chinese are not, it's suckers. No, that's us Brazilians. It's us Westerners who fall for these tricks. Now the answer exposes the extent of the hypocrisy. Beijing knows exactly the espionage capabilities of a mobile platform. And that's why it shields its own territory while flooding the Western Hemisphere with its sensors on wheels, with half the cost being subsidized by the Chinese Communist Party. The dumping practiced by BYD serves to line the streets with Beijing's surveillance network. The citizen buys the illusion of cheap modernity, but hands over the key to the privacy and security of their own country. Alibaba's servers filter data traffic and store consumption and movement patterns of critical infrastructures. If international conflict escalates tomorrow, the PAR, China's single party, will have the power to shut down entire systems or use network mapping to paralyze the supply flows of countries that have become tenants of its technological condominium. And here comes the most devastating fact, which the mainstream media hides from you and which explains why the Chinese machine is taking over Brazil from the inside out, silently destroying our sovereignty. Sometimes you go to the supermarket or try to balance your budget at the end of the month and ask yourself, why did your rice and beans get so expensive? Why did the price of meat skyrocket? Or why does the car you buy cost a fortune? And the answer is at the negotiating table of the Chinese Communist Party. China does this everywhere in the world. It comes in undercutting local competitors with artificial prices, and as soon as it destroys the national industry, it causes huge losses for the supply chains and takes control of the prices. Don't be fooled into thinking that the Eastern Bloc is here to make your life cheaper in the long run. No, my friends. They come to take whatever they can from here to enrich themselves and support a billion mouths on the other side of the world. Brazil has been turned into a huge warehouse of raw commodities sold for next to nothing. They suck up our soybeans, our meat, and our iron ore to inflate their own security stockpiles while diverting the food that should supply our domestic market. The end result is disguised shortages and real inflation weighing on the budgets of Brazilian workers. My friend, if you don't care about your sovereignty, your food security, and the development of your own technology to truly lower your cost of living, understand one thing: it's not China's dictatorship that's coming to save you. They come to drain your wealth and leave you with the bill to pay. The Pentagon's justification for activating the Section 1260H blacklist is not a political decision or an act of arrogant commercial aggression. It works like a doctor's precise diagnosis, identifying an invading virus trying to destroy the host's defenses. In modern warfare, technology is dual use. The same microchip and the same machine high-capacity battery from KTL or the mapping algorithm that serves civilian commerce. They also serve to guide ballistic missiles and coordinate swarms of autonomous drones on the battlefield. Did you get that? Facing a rival that doesn't separate commerce from war, US security agencies had no choice but to cut off the flow of capital and block access to cutting-edge technology before the damage is done. However, it's irreversible. The intelligence reports that supported the inclusion of BYD, Alibaba, and Baidu on the blacklist brought irrefutable factual evidence. American investigators conducted microscopic tracking of technical personnel movement and mapped the continuous flow of high-level engineers circulating between China's military research universities and the development labs of these private corporations. Artificial intelligence and data processing specialists leave the academic ranks of the Chinese military to calibrate Baidu's search systems and Alibaba's clouds. Propulsion and energy storage scientists file patents within BYD while consulting for the modernization projects of Beijing's army armored vehicles. The Section 1260H list is based on satellite evidence, patent records, and the flow of military engineering. The Pentagon's checkmate shielded the Western market and warned the entire world. Pay attention. Doing business with these brands is directly funding the war arsenal that aims to subjugate democracies. My friends, the dismantling of this espionage circuit disguised as innovation completely redraws the lines of geopolitical friction for the coming decades. And the stroke of the pen by the United States Department of Defense has drained the narrative that the rise of Eastern brands is an inevitable and peaceful market process. Not at all. The Pentagon has shown that the West has the customs and technological tools to impose insurmountable barriers whenever hemispheric security is violated by motorized Trojan horses. Chinese corporations have lost access to legitimate international credit and now face the strangulation of their semiconductor supply chains. The message was delivered with mathematical clarity to the nations that passively accept the role of tenants in this technological condominium controlled by Beijing. Governments, and here we're talking about Brazil, that opened its borders to the entry of sensors disguised as cheap vehicles. Deliberately ignoring intelligence reports in exchange for short-term political gain will find that the rent charged by China is paid in daily installments of lost food sovereignty and data submission. The global economic siege against the civil-military fusion of the Chinese bloc has advanced, and there is no more room for fake neutrality on the board. And those who follow the dynamics of global forces with technical depth have already understood that the entry of these brands into our market does not bring real development, but rather the monitoring of every step of our population and the draining of our resources, which are essential to supply the Asian domestic market. The Chinese condominium is charging its price directly in the inflation of our food plate and in the control of our infrastructure. Not to mention, of course, the incompetence of the local government here in Brazil. If you want to give your technical verdict on the outcome of this market friction, leave your comment right below. If you believe that the penetration of these espionage networks will turn our territory into a mineral and food export base completely subordinate to Beijing, type the word colony in the comments. Yes, my friends. On the other hand, if you think that the advance of Pentagon Section 1260H will break global credit lines and force the national market to break its dependence on Beijing's ecosystem, write the word rupture. Cast your vote and take part in this survey. And if you think every Brazilian should know about this, share this video right now with all your friends on WhatsApp, on Instagram, and with your family members. Let's reach 1 million views on this topic here. Now, the truth is, my friends, that we can't depend on traditional channels, on the mainstream media, which operate under bureaucratic consensus. And they follow the official narratives to understand real geopolitics and the defense transformations that are changing the planet irreversibly. Turn on your TV to Rede Globo and you'll see documentary after documentary on Fantástico and Jornal Nacional, saying that China is the new wonder of the world, that China is fair, that China is safe, that everything there is perfect, and that Brazil should look up to and use these technologies and that form of government. That's what you have there. Now, if you want to have access to in-depth command-level information without censorship, without filters, and without this script of lies spoon-fed by armchair editors, you need to be part of our intelligence bunker. The QR code is showing up on the screen right now. The link is in the first pinned comment and in the description of this video. Come and check out our exclusive strategic intelligence platform. Inside, you join more than 3,000 elite analysts who understood that information free from state manipulation has a cost and decided to support independent truth here on our YouTube channel. We're on rented ground, but there we're free to speak the truth without fear of being silenced by a signature. Now, for those of you who enjoy movies and series, we've created a fantastic solution for your life. No more wasting time scrolling through Netflix, Amazon, or whatever streaming service you have to find a good movie or a good series. We've solved that for you with our channel featuring tips on series and movies. Yes, everything is already filtered there, no couture walk, no whining. You can be sure you won't waste time watching junk. So click the link in the description, in the pinned comment, and also on the card that will appear. Now with a podcast, where we're giving a really cool tip about a new series that just premiered, which totally breaks with political correctness. Come check it out. Now, my friends, it's time for the best part of our chat. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it takes a lot of work to make. Yeah, now shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.